In this week's video, I'm going to tell you why now is the very best time in history to start a coaching business. You don't believe me? Let me explain. Hello, I'm Sarah Short. Welcome to the Coaching Revolution's YouTube channel. Life coaching, as it was originally, there weren't any varieties of coach in the beginning, there was just life coaching, was started or reputedly started by an American chap called Thomas Leonard. He was a financial planner, and it became apparent to him that his clients wanted more than just numbers on a page. They were looking for some way of being motivated towards and actually achieving their goals rather than just having them written down and never actually reaching them. And so life coaching was born. For quite a long time, nobody was really sure whether this was just another American fad or whether coaching was a real thing that was going to have a future. Well, by the time 1995 came around, the International Coach Federation was born, and as you may know, the ICF is the largest professional body of coaches in the world. So why do I say that now is the best time to start a coaching business? Well, let's go back to the 80s or 90s and imagine that you're starting a professional services business. So for a start, you would have needed an office. That would mean that you were paying rent, that you needed furniture, it needed to be client appropriate for those clients who came to your office. You were going to need somebody to answer your phone, you were going to need a phone line. And you're going to need a car, a decent car, to take you to and from clients' offices for when you had appointments there rather than at your own place. That's already a substantial sum of money before you even start to advertise. Now, bearing in mind that here in 2021, nobody's got any idea what a coach is really, or worse, they think they know exactly what it is and they're wrong. Back in the 80s and 90s, people were really clueless about coaching. And so any advertising that a coach did had to not only kind of explain, where they were and how to get hold of them, but also what it was that they did. Now, the internet hadn't arrived yet, and so coaches back in the 80s and 90s were limited to print media, radio, and television ads. Now, television ads were almost certainly prohibitively expensive, and possibly the same with radio ads. Print media would have been the way to go. Now, I don't know what print media costs in the States, to advertise in print media cost in the States in the 80s and 90s, but I do know that in the early 90s, I had to place a quarter-page ad in a local newspaper for my employer. Now, that local newspaper had a circulation of around 150,000 people, and the ad that we placed was good for a single edition, so 1 week of that newspaper, and that cost £500 then. Now, £500 in the early 90s money, I looked it up, and that's nearly £2,000 in today's money, which is a prohibitively expensive sum to spend on 1 week's ad in a very small geographical area. In the 90s, Tim Berners-Lee did his thing with the World Wide Web, and here we are today in 2021 with access to the majority of the population of the world. So where the original coaches would struggle to even get themselves known in their local area, we as coaches can be known anywhere in the world. Now, what do you need to start a coaching business? Back then, you needed a lot of money. Now, the barrier to entry is remarkably low. So, essentials for starting a coaching business today. You need a laptop and an internet connection. You need some form of video calling platform, so something like Zoom, Microsoft Teams, you could even use WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger, any way that you can call your client and have a video connection. All of those are free, or they all have free versions. Yes, there's a paid version of Zoom, and undoubtedly there's a paid version of the others, but you can get a free video calling software platform pretty much anywhere. You also need a scheduler, would be a better way of describing it. A scheduler is a piece of software that means that you can share a link with your client and they can book themselves into your diary. The schedulers are quite clever because they'll link to your Google Calendar or your iCal, whatever calendar you use on a daily basis, and they can see when your availability is. Some of those scheduling softwares, they can take payment for you as well, which means that your payment processor and your scheduler is in one piece of software. If you don't have a scheduler that can take payments, you're going to need a way of taking payments as well. And off the top of my head, I can think of PayPal, Go Cardless, or Stripe as payment processors. And then you're going to need to make yourself visible to your potential clients, because it's all very well having those other pieces of software, but unless people know where you are and how to get hold of you and what it is that you do, nobody's going to book into your calendar. So how do you make yourself visible? Well, whilst sitting at home, because we don't need fancy offices anymore, you need a decent social media presence on at least one platform. Ideally, you want to be on all the platforms that your client is on, but let's say, for example, you need a good social media profile on LinkedIn. Now, already, just with those things, you have access to way more people than our coach back in the 80s and 90s would have had. And so can you see already the incredibly low barrier to entry means that you can start a coaching business with nothing more than your coaching qualification and a few bits of software, and then your job is to make yourself visible to the clients who are going to want to work with you. Today is a great time to start a coaching business. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so that you never miss a video from us about how to build a coaching business that's financially and emotionally fulfilling. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.